Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I'm going to teach you how to lose your friends for $25. Now, why would I do that? I don't know. Why'd you click on the episode? Every single time I make one of these, people seem to really enjoy them, so apparently you all seem to really want to lose your friends for one reason or another. I'm not going to ask questions. That's not what I'm here for. I'm just here to teach you how to do it. So yeah, today's is especially brutal, so let's get into it, starting off with the Commander. Now, the Commander is not the focus of this deck, but it is a means to an end. This Commander, Garth One-Eye, is a fantastic toolbox commander that can help you out in a lot of situations, and it can really help you with the strategy of this deck. First up, let's talk about what Garth does. A 5/5 human wizard that costs Wooburg, that's right, one of every single color. Tap, choose a card name that has been chosen from among Disenchant, Brain Geyser Terror, Shivan Dragon Regrowth, and Black Lotus. Create a copy of the chosen card, and then you may cast the copy. Basically, hey, okay, tap, make a Black Lotus. Obviously, that's an artifact that costs 0. Can tap, sacrifice it for 3 mana of 1 color. You've got Disenchant. I believe that's instant for 1 and a white. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Brain Geyser. I believe it's a sorcery for X blue. Target player draws X cards. Terror. 1 and a black, instant speed, destroy target non-black creature. Shivan Dragon, who cares? Regrowth, 1 and a green, return target card from your graveyard to your hand at sorcery speed. That one is especially effective with this deck because, yeah, Recursion is something that we very much care about. I mean, we're not going to be upset about having a Black Lotus or, again, repeatable removal with this commander or, yeah, a lot of card draw. And when I say repeatable, well, I'm talking about having to reset Garth. Because Garth, you do lose out on those cards every single time you use them, right? If you use Black Lotus, you can't use it again. Unless you reset Garth in one of a few ways. Number one, bringing it back to your hand. We're not really going to focus on that too much. It dying, which is unfortunate, and sorry, Garth, that might happen sometimes, but more than likely, the way that we want to reset you is with blink effects, and those actually work really well with other effects in this deck. Now, the moment that you've been waiting for, let's learn about what this deck is really about and how you're going to lose your friends. But first, a quick reminder that, yeah, these decks are very budget friendly. Like I said earlier, this deck is $25, actually $24.88 according to Mox Field. Keep in mind that doesn't include basic lands, it also doesn't include the cost of shipping, and you actually might be able to save even more than that by buying this deck on TCG Player and utilizing heavily played and damaged cards, which of course need a home too, so make sure that you optimize your card on TCG Player to get the best price. And yeah, with all that said, let's jump into it, starting off with tactic number 1, which is the Golden Pig, the number 1 card out of 99, and what this entire deck is built around. So you're going to be losing your friends with Cruel Entertainment. This card is quite entertaining and quite cruel, hence the name. Sorcery for a 6 and a black. Choose target player and another target player. The first player controls the second player during the second player's next turn, and the second player controls the first player during the first player's next turn. I guess I should have mentioned, typically every single card in the deck is less than $1. I did make an exception for the Golden Pig of this deck as the entire deck is built around it. This card is $2.52. It is well worth it for this plan because, yes, this card is cruel. It is entertaining. We're basically saying, hey, you two, yeah, you know how you built your own commander deck and you like playing your own commander deck? You're not going to be doing that. No. You're going to be playing each other's commander deck for this turn. And maybe the next turn, and maybe the next turn, and maybe the next turn, because, yeah, like I said, yes, we've already got a regrowth on Garth, so we can utilize that to get this back and recast it. And also, we've got plenty of ways to, well, reset Garth and just go get it back in other ways, too. So, we're going to be cruelly entertaining ourselves a lot throughout the game. Keep in mind, in a desperate situation, or just in a really fun situation, you can actually choose yourself and an opponent as well. So do keep that in mind. You can actually control an opponent on their turn to potentially finish them off, make really bad decisions for them. This is the kind of interesting politics where you're like, okay, yeah, I mean, that player's ahead, so you might as well do some things to, like, upset their board. Yeah, swing all their creatures at someone else that they shouldn't be swinging at. You know, swing into a bad situation. Use their own spells to remove their own creatures. You know, those kinds of things. Just make the most awful decisions for them. And, yeah, this is very much the Golden Pig of the deck, but this card pairs incredibly well with the cards in our next tactic, which I'm calling Poor Decisions. And my goodness, the poor decision that you can make for your opponents when you're set up properly. Excavation. An enchantment for 1 and a blue in this card is incredibly bad. in many decks, but it's incredibly good in this one. Pay 1, sacrifice a land, draw a card. Any player may activate this ability. So, hey, when you're having players switch turns, they get to make decisions for that other player. And one of those decisions might be something terrible, something awful. Like, oh, hey, yeah, I'm Johnny now. I get to make the decisions for Johnny. Cool, all right. And I just picked Johnny at random. Hi, Johnny's out there. Anyways, I'm Johnny, and you know what? I really would like to sacrifice all my lands to draw cards, because I like to draw cards. So there you go. You can make absurdly terrible decisions for players when you say, you know what, let's just swap you two and see what happens when this is in play, because anyone can activate it. All your opponents can activate it and make the worst decisions for each other. And of course, the bad decisions don't stop there, because next up we've got Una's Prowler. This one's actually quite funny in combination with Excavation. It's also just good without it. 3/1 Flying Fairy Rogue for just 2 mana. Wow, that is pretty good heavy hitter for, just 2 mana and flying. Here's the thing though. Discard a card, Una's Prowler gets -2/-0 until end of turn. Any player may activate this ability. So, hey, I mean, in like standard and in draft, that's just, essentially make it so this card can't hit incredibly hard every single time. But now in this deck, it's like, yeah, your opponents typically wouldn't be discarding cards to make this hit less hard. But now you're like, you two switch turns. Okay, decide if you want to just make that other player lose their entire hand. Because again, you have basically, mind control them, mind slaver them in a turn. So yeah, do you want to lose your hand? Do you want to lose your hand? See what happens. Just make really interesting plays, essentially. So, and again, if you switch hands or switch plays with someone else, you can do that for them. Moving on, Sapperling Cluster, another way to get rid of someone's hand. Pay 1, discard a card from your hand, put a 1/1 green Sapperling creature token into play. Any player may activate this ability. Yeah, hey, you know what? You get something out of it this time, okay? Hey, if you decide, switch, and be like, you know what, let's just discard it. Oh, you know what? I gave you Sapperlings, though. Johnny, you know what? I'm sorry. I got rid of all your cards, but I gave you Sapperlings. You're welcome. And, of course, there might be some retribution for that, but things can get pretty crazy and pretty hairy when things like this happen. And, yes, Cruel Entertainment gets even more entertaining when these cards are in play. Moving on. Land's Edge. Somewhat similar to this card's pretty weird. Basically, any player can choose to discard a card, and if it's a land, it's 2 damage to a player's face. So yeah, sure. Again, just a full free discard outlet for any player out there to just get rid of their opposing player's hands when they have control of their turn. And sure, you can add some extra damage to that. Yeah, you might get some heat, for playing this kind of a deck and losing your friends, and they might target you and dish out damage to your face. But that's okay. It'll still be entertaining, right? And perhaps the most entertaining, though, is Aether Storm. This is a crazy card. Summon spells can't be played. That basically means that creature spells can't be played. It's a very old card. There's Oracle text on it. Regardless, any player can pay 4 life to destroy this. So, hey, the thing about that is that that's an activated ability, and you can activate that as many times as you want in response to itself. It doesn't say it's sorcery speed. So you're just like, okay, pay 4 life, pay 4 life, pay 4 life, pay 4 life, pay 4 life. And when you're choosing to do that for someone else, well, again, that can be a way that players can just take each other down to an incredibly low life, or even take each other out. Because, yeah, if you're choosing to make a bad decision for another player, you can just choose to make the worst decision for that player. Now, I will say that a player, if they assume that might happen and someone else might take them out if they control their turn, they might just pay the 4 ahead of time. But that's still a fun decision that they have to make. So yeah, make sure you keep that in mind. There's a lot of crazy things that you can do with Cruel Entertainment, and these are quite entertaining for you. Moving on, though, let's talk about how we actually get there in tactic number 3. Getting there. How do we actually get to the point where we can do these fun things? First up, of course, there's Wayfarer's Bauble. Pay 2 tap, sacrifice, go to base land to play, tap. Moving on, we've got Edge of Autumn, basically rampant growth with 4 fewer lands, and also we can cycle it away by sacrificing a land. Speaking of rampant growth, yeah, the OG rampant growth. Go get a base land to play, tap for just 2 mana. What's not to love about that? Then we've got Cultivate, 1 basic in our hand, 1 into play, tap for 3 mana. Speaking of 3 mana, we've got Farhaven Elf. And like I mentioned earlier, yeah, we very want to have some blink effects in this deck so we can really take advantage of an ETB like this. Go get a basic land to play, tap when this comes into play. We can get that a couple of times throughout the game. Moving on, Grow from the Ashes. Kick it for 2 extra mana, get 2 basics, gonna play untapped, much better. Or if you don't kick it, you get 1 into play untapped, which is still great. Moving on, Harrow. Sacrifice 1 land, get 2 into play untapped. Great for mana fixing, great for ramping as well. And then we've got Roiling Regrowth. Unfortunately, just slightly worse than Harrow. Those lands do come into play tap, but still great for our fixing too. And then we've got Root Weaver Druid. Again, yet another ETB we can really take advantage of. Enters the battlefield, each opponent may search the library for the 3 basic land cards. They put one of those cards on the battlefield tapped under your control, and the rest of the battlefield tapped under their control. Then each player shuffles, essentially. So basically, hey, you know what? Let's already start the politicking. Let's already start things going on. Let's already start players pitting each other against each other. So this is just a nice way to do it. And again, one we can get multiple times throughout the game. Moving on, turn 1 play, which is fantastic. Search for tomorrow. Spend 2 for a green. Get a basic into play untapped. Then there's Spring Bloom Druid, yet another ETB we can take advantage of. Basically, a Roiling Regrowth on a body. Yeah, go get those basics into play tapped after you sacrifice 1 land. Migration Path, a great 4 mana spell. Basically, going to close the vegetation, or we can cycle it away for 2 mana if we need to. And then, of course, we've got Sad Robot. Oh, poor Sad Robot. Great ETB. Again, go get a basic land to play tapped. When it dies, we get some advantage as well. We draw a card. Now, we have other ways to, get card advantage, other ways to get to specific things, and of course, we've got plenty of ways to tutor to get to Cruel Entertainment. So let's move on to tactic number 4, getting it. And we're going to start things off with, well, a very simple tutor, Diabolic Tutor. Go get any card out of your deck, get it in your hand. So again, go get Cruel Entertainment. If we have that, go get, maybe some way to get it back. Or if we already have that, maybe go get, one of those excavation type cards, the any player chooses type cards. So yeah, again, these tutors can be fantastic for a lot of reasons. Moving on, we've got Bring to Light. Search the library for a creature, instant, or sorcery card with mana value less than or equal to the number of cards, number of mana, colors of mana, but against spell we got there, exile, then shuffle. Basically, hey, do Wooburg with this, 5 or less for any instant, sorcery, or creature. This can be a great way to go get, another tutor if you need to, like just Diabolic Tutor, cast that. Go get, the actual card that you need. Go get Cruel Entertainment. So if you need that, great. If you need to get a creature, go get one of those. We got creatures in this deck that can actually get us back Cruel Entertainment. We'll talk about those here in a little bit. This card's very flexible, can help you out in a lot of scenarios. Moving on, we've got Coveted Prize. We're going to be running a lot of tutors in this deck. And yeah, it doesn't really matter. This costs 5 mana. It's going to cost 5. Go get any card in our deck. Moving on, Diabolic Revelation costs a little bit more, but it's well worth it. X, 3, and black. So basically 5 plus X. Go get any number of cards, essentially, equal to X value. Get them in your hand. So yeah, set yourself up for Cruel Entertainment. Set yourself up for, that excavation type play. Set yourself up for getting it back. Yeah, a great card in this kind of a deck. Moving on, Final Parting. Go get 1 card in your hand, 1 card in your graveyard, and yeah, like I talked about, we've got plenty of ways to recur cards, so go get a card that you actually want to get back out of your graveyard. And yeah, basically a double tutor for you. Speaking of which, Illicit Shipment. Basically, you can sacrifice a creature that costs 3 or that has power 3 or greater with that casualty 3 and copy it. Go get 1 card or go get 2 if you did that. So again, set yourself up properly. Moving on, Invasion of Arcavios. ETB, go get an instant sorcery, put it in your hand. Also, once you take this out, you can flip it over and it turns into Invocation of the Founders. Whenever you cast in sorcery spell from your hand, you may copy that spell charge for the copy. This can be really fun with Cruel Entertainment, picking even more opponents to switch. And then also, well, hey, yeah, copying spells that we might really want to copy, like, maybe blank spells, maybe recursion spells as well, or yeah, just spells that Garth's going to help us cast. Moving on, Razcast Right, very simple tutor. Go get any card, or we can cycle away for a single black mana. We've got Invert Invent, a split card. We're going to focus on the Invent side, basically. Instant speed, search your library for an instant and or sorcery card. Get them in your hand, then shuffle. So basically, go get 2 cards for the price of 1, which is fantastic. Again, Cruel Entertainment can be that sorcery. Plenty of great instants out there for us to get. But now let's move on to tactic number 5 with getting it back. And we're going to talk about, well, getting Cruel Entertainment back. And I've kind of referenced some of these cards before, but yeah, cards like Archaeomancer are fantastic in this deck. ETB, go get back any instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. It's usually going to be Cruel Entertainment or, a blink spell or something else fantastic for this deck because, yeah, we've got other blink spells. We've got other ways to get cards back. It's going to be great. Next up, Ardent Elementalist. Exact same thing, essentially, on ETB. Then we've got Timeless Witness. Get back any card out of your graveyard, or you can eternalize it to do that again out of your graveyard. Moving on, Arcanist is a bit more specific. Go get not an instant anymore, just a sorcery out of your graveyard back to your hand. That's still fine. We got plenty of great sorceries, including Cruel Entertainment. Then we've got Is It Chronarch? 5 mana, instant or sorcery out of your graveyard. Mnemonic Wall, you're going to see a pattern here. Mnemonic Wall does the exact same thing on ETB, which is just great. Then we've got Possessed Camp, which does a little bit more. Has somewhat of a downside to them. Go get back an instant or sorcery or creature from your graveyard to your hand, but if this would die, exile instead, so a slight downside, but again, a little more flexibility. Moving on, Salvager of Secrets. Standard, instant sorcery from your graveyard to your hand on ETB. What's not to love about that? Speaking of which, Shipwreck Dowser, exact same thing, but also has prowess. So sure, if you want to hit your opponents, go for it. If you really want to do that, go for it. There are, of course, other ways to take them out. You can have them take each other out, with those really bad decisions, or you could, just finish off that last opponent once you get, to that point. So there you go. Next up, we've got Return Past Caller. Go get back a Spirit, instant sorcery. Typically, it's probably not going to be the Spirit, but sure, yeah, why not? Anyways, instant sorcery on ETB. Revolutionist, exact same thing. Also, if we happen to discard this, we can cast it for its madness cost. And then finally, we've got Scholar of the Ages. This one's a huge ETB. Go get back 2 instants and or sorceries from graveyard to your hand. A lot of value out of that. And again, just getting cool entertainment and maybe something else, like we're going to talk about here in a second, back again and again. So move on to tactic number 6, which I'm calling getting it again, because yeah, this is just going to keep happening. Our opponent's worst fears are going to be realized. Their nightmares are going to be realized, because we're just going to keep blinking these things. Cloud Shift, a great card, a simple 1-mana spell, blink a creature. Yeah, there you go. And keep in mind, again, with all those ETBs we just talked about, we also have, Garth, which again, every single time we blink Garth, we reset Garth, so we get access to everything, including Regrowth, again, which is a great recursion spell. Next up, we've got Flicker of Fate, basically 2 mana. Hey, blink something, creature or enchantment. Most of the time, again, going to be a creature, and yeah, there you go. Jeskar's Portal, basically blink a creature, comes back with a counter on it. Cool, don't really care too much about that counter. What we care about, again, is blinking, getting the ETB. So we also have Otherworldly Journey, which basically does the exact same thing, so keep that in mind. This one's slightly more flexible because in exile any creature, including an opponent, so we have to temporarily get rid of something, we can. We've got Planar Incision, exile an artifact or creature, return it with a counter on it if it's a creature. So again, slightly more flexible. Really, again, the main thing that matters is blinking a creature, though. So we also have Siren's Ruse. Cool. We would get a benefit. We had a pirate. We don't. Again, it's just a blink spell, which is completely fine for us. So we also have Teferi's Time Twist, which is a great one. Basically, blink any permanent. If it's a creature, comes back with a counter on it. Cool. So again, flexible, can, save whatever we need to save, but also, hey, just, at a base level, blink a creature, get that ETB again. Turn to Mist. Again, just a very flexible one again. Just, hey, blink any creature. Do it. Why not? Then we've got Touch the Spirit Realm. Speaking of flexible, this one can be removal, or at least I should say temporary removal. When this enters the battlefield, exile 1 artifact creature that leaves the battlefield, or we can channel it by discarding it and basically blinking an artifact or creature. So this is flexible. So there you go. And when it comes to blinking, though, we've got some bigger, heavier hitting blink spells, and let's talk about that in tactic number 7. And again. So we're going to start things off with Planar Guide, a simple 1/1 cleric for 1 mana that has pay 3 and a white, exile it, exile creatures, return them to the battlefield, under someone's control at the end of the turn. Basically, hey, just a creature that has just a blink, massive blink effect on it, just waiting. And keep in mind, this does impact your opponent's creatures as well, so if they have any ETBs, they're going to get those ETBs, but also, yeah, if someone's going to be swinging at you with their army, you're like, let's not do that this turn, and also I'm going to get all my ETBs, so yeah, a massive ETB blink effect like this can be an absurd amount of value. Again, keep in mind all those ramp, ETBs that we had, all the recursion ETBs that we had, resetting Garth, etc., etc. Moving on to Sword in the Court. This one's a bit flexible. Exile X card creatures, then investigate X times, turn the exiled cards, tap to begin the next end step. There you go. A way to blink as many creatures as we need to for that X value, getting a ton of value, and yeah, also investigating too. Moving on. Hallowed Respite. Now, this one can't blink our commander, so keep that in mind, but it can blink basically anything else that we need. Exile target non-legendary creature, return to the battlefield under its control. If it enter, give it a counter on it, and then also, yeah, you can flash it back to get a second time, which is just nice. So we also have Legion's Initiative, a great card for this kind of a deck. Pay red, white, exile it, exile creatures you control at the beginning of the next combat, return those cards to the battlefield under someone's control, and they gain haste till of turn. Again, the main thing is this is just a massive blink spell in the wait, essentially. Just keep it in play and then blink it when you need it. Or exile and blink your creatures when you need it. Misfit of Witch is next up, though. This is a repeatable blink effect. Pay 2 white, blue. Basically blink a creature. So there you go. You can blink Garth, reset that, blink one of your creatures that has a great ETB. Do that. We also have Momentary Blink. Again, yet another blink that we can essentially just get a second time. Flash it back for 3 and a blue. Then we've got Displace for 3 mana. We can blink 2 creatures, again, double the value, reset Garth, get something else back. There you go. And then we've got Soul Herder, a great repeatable way to blink on every single one of our end steps. Basically, yeah, just blink a creature you control. Great. This also gets larger every single time something is exiled. Cool. Who really cares about that? What we care about is the free blink effect. And speaking of free, okay, well, I guess you have to connect with it, but Parago is flying. It's going to be able to get through on at least one opponent, usually when it does. exile any number of target non-land permanents you control and turn those cards to battlefield under those control. So basically get every single one of your ETBs every single time and reset your commander every single time. So yeah, this can just give you an absurd amount of value. We also have Lae'zel Acrobatics. I am sorry, I probably mispronounced that name every single time. Basically, exile non-token creatures you control, roll a d20. A 1 through 9, you get that blink once. Basically, a 10 through 20, you basically get a secondary blink too, which is just nice. An absurd amount of value. Moving on, we've got Semester's End, which is finally budget-friendly again. Basically, a mass blink spell for all of your creatures. There you go. Again, just blink your entire team. There are plenty of ways to get value out of this. And again, when you can just recur these kinds of cards too, things can get pretty absurd. So we also have Yorion, Sky Nomad, a creature that is a mass blink effect in itself. And actually with this, yeah, reprinting it is great and really cool art. Enter the battlefield, exile another non-land permanent you control, and return those battlefield at the end step, essentially. So there you go. Basically a Brago one-off on an ETB. Quite fantastic. So yeah, I mean, this deck, I think, has a lot of potential to lose your friends. Again, it is cruelly entertaining. You can entertain yourself for a long time with this. I mean, until you don't have anyone else to play with. So then you might not be entertained, but yeah, Cruel Entertainment is a crazy cool card, one that I'm definitely excited, about building an entire deck around. I thought it was a lot of fun. And of course, it pairs really well with those terrible decision cards like Excavation, so make sure you have fun with that. Again, if you are interested in this deck, if you're interested in losing your friends, make sure you check out that deck list link in the description below. I will warn you that it does, if you're not actually looking to lose friends, it takes the right group to really appreciate a deck like this. So yeah, make sure that that is the right group that you're playing with. So there you go. Check out that link in the description below. Comment below with your thoughts. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.